The Star and D'Amico Show is brought to you by cheapesttshirts.ca. If you're looking for quality gear without overpaying, check out cheapesttshirts.ca. A huge selection for men, women, and kids. Hoodies, t-shirts, headwear, bags, even towels. Get this. Order today, ship today, delivery tomorrow. Style, value, and speed, all with cheapesttshirts.ca. Brought to you by Cabletel. For reliable alarm systems in Quebec and Eastern Ontario, you can trust Cabletel, servicing the region for more than 20 years. Expert installation and top-tier protection for your home or business. Visit cabletel.com. Email them info@cabletel.com to get secure today. It's Cabletel. Peace of mind you can count on. Brought to you by Morella's. Craving unforgettable steak and fine dining? Morella's Steakhouse on Highway 132, 15 minutes from downtown Montreal, brings you premium cuts, bold flavors, and an atmosphere that's perfect for any night out. From exceptional service to an outstanding wine list, this is where great meals become great memories. Reserve your next night out and go to morellasteakhouse.ca to reserve now. Taste excellence tonight. Brought to you by Little Bear. Looking for the best for your pet? LittleBearOnline.com with online orders. They're also available on Uber Eats. It's a family-owned business in Montreal that's been around for more than 30 years. Chuck, Evie, and their wonderful staff have all your needs taken care of because they care about your pet as much as you do, with the best prices on top brands from around the world. Toys, food, bedding, everything your pet could ever want. LittleBearOnline.com or visit their store on St. Catherine across from Westmount Square. Brought to you by McLean's. Get down to McLean's Pub, 1210 Peel Street in downtown Montreal. It's your go-to spot for great food, cold drinks, and big sports on the big screens. Classic pub food and a lively vibe only steps from all the action. Stop by today at McLean's, 1210 Peel Street. Good times and great company. There's Marco D'Amico with RG.org, covering all things Montreal Canadiens. I'm Sean Starr. Thanks so much for being with us. Thanks for liking and subscribing to our channel. And you can find the audio version of what you're listening to, what you're watching right now on all your favorite audio podcast platforms like iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, so on and so forth. Marco, let's get into the always dangerous territory of trying to get into someone's mind. Ken Hughes put it basically on the lap of Martin St. Louis when he said that's going to be the coach's decision. When players start to return from injury, and we're talking about the forwards primarily here, certainly Kirby Dach, and down the list we go of Jake Evans and Josh Anderson, and now Alex Newhook and Patrick Laine eventually, it's going to be on MSL to figure out where everybody slots in. So let's get into MSL's brilliant brain of his and figure out what is the ideal Montreal Canadiens lineup? What does it look like when we're talking about forwards that are returning? Obviously, the number one line still consists of Cole Caufield and Nick Suzuki, unless you think otherwise. Alex Texier has been a man on fire, establishing career firsts in back-to-back games last week. But in a perfect world, barring transaction, we're not talking about trades today, barring transaction, who are we thinking MSL believes to be the right fit to round out the number one line?
You could say Kirby Dach. You could say Alex Texier. We've seen both of those players execute that really well. The obvious choice is Juraj Slafkovsky, but you don't want to. Do you really want to break up the kid line?
Right.
The only way I would break up the kid line is to reinsert Alex Newhook onto that line and then put Juraj Slafkovsky back on the first. But one of the hesitations I have is that I believe Juraj Slafkovsky is a better player on the left wing.
Right.
Because he's able to enter the zone on his strong side, able to protect the puck in transition, really kind of utilizes his physical gifts and his speed, as he cuts onto the exterior and cuts down to the middle. So I feel like that makes him a more dangerous player. So if that, for all intents and purposes, I would leave him there, and I would move Alex Newhook when he comes back to the top line, and then Alex Texier potentially to the third line, or vice versa. Like, it's a great problem to have. My problem is not where are you going to put the top of the lineup players when they come back, because Alex Newhook isn't coming back until about the trade deadline. So
Yeah.
that's couple, what, 7-8 weeks away. Like, it's a while.
Uh-huh.
And so I'm not necessarily worried about who ends up on the top line. It's who's healthy to play on the top line.
Oh, let me shock the world here for a second. I'm
Oh dear.
very much intrigued. I guess in my perfect world, I'm not scared. I'm not scared of putting Uri back up on the top line because when those three guys were together, they were full stop dominant. I like
Mhm.
Alex Newhook to round out the Kapanen Demidov
Yeah.
line as your top six. But again, I'm not allergic in the short term to see if you again, like I'm sure a lot of people are gonna like, what are you talking about? How dare you break up the Kapanen Demidov and Slavkovsky combination? But if you're trying to build, I think, layered depth, maybe having Slav back up with two guys that have well established chemistry, Alex Newhook, who was on a heater, I think he can be a very nice complementary piece. And I'm not sweating like, oh, I don't think it's that big of a gamble, I guess is what I'm saying.
No, it's not, because it's also a combination. Both of those lines worked, right? It's not like it didn't. I think we can all remember before Newhook's injury, Newhook,
Yeah.
Demidov, and Kapanen were perfectly fine,
Yeah.
and they started the season off well. He was on fire prior to his injury, so I don't see it as a problem to flip the first and second line. Like, it's not problematic to me, but I just feel like for Slavkovsky individually, he is a better player on the left wing for me at 5-on-5. So I wouldn't touch it per se, but I understand a world where if you go into the playoffs, you're going to want your top line to be maybe a little bit more defensively responsible. Though I think Alex Texier is a very responsible defensive winger, and Alex Newhook has shown himself that he this year really stepped up his game from a two-way perspective, was playing PK. So
Mm.
you have many options here. For once, the Canadians actually do have a couple of options where they could litter around in their top nine. I'm not necessarily worried about that. It's more like who's going to round out the top nine. That's my problem.
We're having some fun. We're building up the Montreal Canadiens a playoff roster. There's Marco D'Amico. I'm Sean Starr. Alex Texier, Kirby Doc, and Zachary Bolduc for line number 3 as we try to get into MSL's brain, the best roster we believe that maybe he can build up here. And again, there's been so much talk about, put Doc on the number 1 line when he gets back from injury. What about leaving him in his natural position? Put him with, in your words, a responsible player in Alex Texier and Zachary Bolduc to bring a little bit of more physicality and hopefully confidence grows in his game in terms of what I can see Martin St. Louis using essentially as a third line, Texier, Doc, and Zachary Bolduc. Marco, what are your thoughts on how you think that third line could be built up in a winning way?
Yeah, I think a third line, it depends where everybody else goes. But again,
Yeah.
Alex Texier can play on your first, second, third. I don't necessarily have a problem. He's been fantastic. And then Phil Deneau holding down the third line role, I think is perfect for him. And Balzuc, I mean, I think the Canadians you're gonna have to see more from him.
I agree.
Again, like, my issue is, where do these guys fit
Mm.
when everyone comes back? Because we're talking about the third line right now, but the Canadians currently have, you know, well, on defense, Caden Gooley, that's not a problem. Kirby Doc, Alex Newhook, Jake Evans, Josh Anderson.
Yeah.
4 of those forwards are coming back probably before trade deadline.
Yeah.
Right now, we have lines for, what is current, and I don't think anybody's removing anyone from the top 6, right? So, worst case scenario, Alex Texier is playing on your third line if you decide to put guys around. But I eventually I do think that Kirby Doc ends up taking Zach Balzuc's spot on the third line.
Mm.
You have no choice
Yeah.
when everyone comes back to health. And then your fourth line, like, what happens there? Because you have Gallagher, Anderson, Evans. Does that mean, well, Owen Beck going down to Laval? I think would
Yes.
make sense. But
Uh-huh.
then, do you waive Sammy Blais?
I think you do. I think you do. In the roster I've built up for this exercise, okay? I have a hard time finding a place for Jake Evans, let alone Brendan Gallagher. I like Kirby Doc down the middle. I like Phil Deneau as my fourth line center, and I understand Jake Evans contractually where he is. I mean,
Mhm.
it's a very difficult puzzle without moving bodies. So Sammy Blais would again for what I mean multiple times this season go back on waivers. I mean, it's almost an impossible puzzle to figure out, man.
Yeah, I don't see the future for a Kirby Doc at center anymore.
Huh?
I really, really don't. It just
Yeah,
he screams winger to me.
yeah.
Just not good in the face-off circle. Not haven't seen him cover the middle of the ice really well this year. What I have seen is a more engaged player, and he's more engaged on the rush, playing along the wing. Like I enjoyed him. I just don't see a center. That doesn't mean I don't see a valuable player. This is the reason why I have him ahead of Balzuc on my depth chart. But I just feel like
Interesting.
the way that he was playing when he went down, playing with a guy like Phil Deneau, you could really turn him into more of a two-way winger with with size that's able to play. That could also be valuable as the Canadians are looking to, maybe get a little bigger along the wings. Well, that helps them as well. And then if you had a third line of Texier, Deneau, and Kirby Doc going into the playoffs, you're in a pretty good
Fair.
spot. You're in
I
a
don't.
pretty good spot.
I
So
don't.
I don't necessarily mind, to be honest with you.
Uh huh.
But let's be honest here. Who's your fourth line?
Well, I mean, it's a process of elimination, right? Like, so if Kirby Doc's there, Zachary Bolduc's there, Texay's there, we can all agree, and you can fit them in their right slots. Newhook, Kapanen, Demidov there. The number one line, Slap's there, Suzuki's there, Caufield's there. We talked about Sammy Blais. We talked about Phil Deneau. Josh Anderson's got to be there. I mean,
Yeah.
Josh Anderson, playoff version, Josh Anderson last year, playoff version, you started to see more of it anyway before he got hurt. So he's obviously there. So that means, Patrick Laine, Brendan Gallagher, Joe Veleno, Sammy Blais. There's too many players for roles that I think we've already started to fill here.
My hot take,
Yeah.
honestly, and this is made even more intriguing by the fact that Michael Hage could also be signing with the Canadians at the end of the season.
Oh my gosh.
Thankfully, though, the 23-man roster limit only applies until the trade deadline. After that, you could have as many players on your roster as you want, as long as you don't
Yeah.
go over the cap.
Yeah.
So the Canadians will be fine come that time. But what I think this does, waiving Sammy Blais to me would expose yourself again to needing to go and get another physical piece.
Right. There's the strong argument there. I agree.
I think what this does is it could open up the door for the Montreal Canadiens, be it, buyer's remorse on Zachary Bolduc, which I'm not saying is going to happen, be it potentially trying to get ahead of it with Kirby Doc and moving him out, be it retaining 50% and trading Patrick Laine. I think this is going to open the door for the Canadians because of the way their roster is built and all the forwards they have left. It's going to open up the door for them to potentially be both sellers and buyers at the
Boom.
NHL trade deadline because they're going to get a lot of phone calls. Teams are going to be like, what's your plan with X? What's your plan with Y? Like, and the Canadians are also a team that would like to add, right? Like, let's be honest here. If they're going to be if they want to do anything in terms of the improvement of the organization, it's not getting futures, it's adding to the roster. So I could see a world where the Canadians could sell off a player, trade a player to accumulate assets to then package with another player to go and improve at a certain position. That's where I can see the Canadians going because they're where they are now with these injuries. And I think outside of Caden Gooley and Alex Newhook, a lot of these are a lot of the players that have been injured, or Jake Evans too, to that regard, don't necessarily play crucial roles. They play periphery roles. And I think teams are going to be looking for depth. Like teams are going to be looking for scoring. Does that make Patrick Laine an option? Because where do you put him in this lineup? Where do you put him in this lineup if you want to play? Because the
Correct.
other thing is with Patrick Laine, you're going to have to play him on a power play wave. It's going to
Mm-hmm.
be probably the second power play wave. How does that work with Noah Dobson at the point? And the way that that wave works already is more like shots to the net, everybody crash, like stuff like that. And you have to factor in Alex Newhook coming back. What do they do with Kirby Doc? So
Yep.
again, I think this opens up a world of conversation where
Massive.
The Canadians would be doing themselves a disservice. They'd have to waive. Think about it. They're at 22 players right now. When Caden Gooley comes back, they'll be at 23. But then you have Line who's on IR, Doc that's on IR, Newick's on IR, Evans is on IR, and Josh Anderson is day to day, so he doesn't count. So you've got 4 forwards coming back. Owen Beck, easy to send down, no problem.
No
But then
problem.
you're going to have to get rid of 3 other ones.
Mm-hmm.
Two of them prior to the trade deadline. So that to me opens up the door for conversation in regards to trades. If the Canadians ever so slightly decide,
Oof.
okay, we have too many forwards right now, maybe we should look into potentially maximizing the value of one of them to help us maybe get an asset back that we could use to, I don't know, go after a more physical winger that can play in our middle six.
My,
That's the way
bra-
I
my,
see it.
my, my, my brain is melting just thinking about all these scenarios and trying to
Well,
put the pieces of this puzzle together, man. It is complex, it is layered, and it's not full stop. It's not easy. It's not an easy problem to solve.
no, and I think that's where players like Caden Gooley are really safe on the defensive side. But
Agreed.
Kirby Doc, Zachary Bolduc, like those are guys, Patrick Laine, those are guys that I don't know that they've necessarily found a full-time fit for them. It's kind of hard to figure out. But
Yep.
when you're trying to map out this team, and if there is a player you truly covet, and that team is looking for like young players that could step into the NHL now, at least the first two, like if you have to bite the bullet because a player that you really like becomes available, the Canadians are going to have to sacrifice from the roster. Like we were talking about, for example, and I don't think this is going to happen, but we had talked about Robert Thomas. How do you acquire a guy like Robert Thomas, for example,
Yeah.
without sacrificing from your roster?
Mm-hmm.
Right. So like I I I don't think the Canadians will go for Robert Thomas, but it's in that vein where if they feel like they can add that kind of player, you may see a quantity for quality type move where the Canadians would be able to maybe alleviate themselves of a contract or two, that would be used as depth
Mm-hmm.
because they've allowed their younger players like Florian Jacki, Joshua Roy is injured right now. Owen Beck's look good. He could be recalled at any moment. You can bring those guys back up if need be. But I just have a hard time thinking that the Canadians are going to waive Sammy Blais and Joe Veleno with the way that they've played for the Canadians down the stretch here. I feel like it would be a waste of assets, and I feel like they could be able to monetize elsewhere so that it could help them out, maybe improve at forward, higher in their lineup.
There's Marco D'Amico. Read all the latest on the regular over at rg.org on the Montreal Canadiens beat. I'm Sean Starr. Thanks so much for being with us. Like and subscribe to the channel. And of course, you can find this version on all your favorite audio podcast platforms like our iHeartRadio. Thank you, Marco.
Thank you guys. Have a great one.